We ready?
Guilty.
Good morning. Welcome to the February 14th County Board meeting. Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Therese, will you do roll call?
Commissioner Coring,
I'm here, present.
Commissioner Lubke,
Present.
Commissioner Barrows,
Here.
Commissioner Franzine,
Here.
Commissioner Hoag.
Here.
All members are present.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is open forum. First person, Weston Crone. Please come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Weston Crone. I am at 6231 Sugarbush Trail in Brainerd, and I'm here to talk about some concerns I have with BIR. Now I live about 2 miles as the crow flies from there. I'm an anesthesia provider here in town, and I take call 24/7 sometimes. And I serve this community, and I'm concerned about the noise because it can be a safety risk, and it's a loss of peace in the area. When you're on call and you can't sleep because of noise and you have to take care of patients, it becomes an issue. Now I understand that this is not the same track that was grandfathered in 1996. That was a little bit different than it has grown since then. It's also not the same track that it was back in 2015 when we had the big storm and blowdown that eliminated most of the natural noise barriers. Because of that, it's loud as ever, most days and all day. I've reached out to the track owner before, and especially during COVID, and discussed some topics, and it sounds like that renting the track out to groups for an entire day is happening, and that's one of the reasons why there is noise throughout all day. In addition to that, the other big complaint I have with that is fireworks and late night engine revving. It seems to be unenforced, and I'm not specifically saying the big weekends, Lakes Jam or Nationals. That's not the case. These are random weekends, sometimes weekdays during the summer. It's clear that BIR cannot handle this. I not constantly, but frequently call the Sheriff's Department to report the noise. When I do this, I've been told that they've received multiple calls and they're aware, but nothing happens. I've reached out to the Sheriff's Department, their administration, several times, and I'm told that they handle things differently than residents. Typically, they say residents, the first violation will get a warning and then a fine. BIR doesn't have the same standards. There doesn't seem to be any oversight at this racetrack. According to the CDC, 80 to 85 decibels can cause hearing damage. I've documented that and much higher at our house that I live in. Right now, it seems like noise pollution and light pollution seem to be a topic in Brainerd, so I thought this is a really good time to bring this up. I understand that BIR is a business, and it brings in some tax money, but if you look at the whole in this community, Lakes Country, lake and cabin owners, homeowners in the area bring in a lot of money in taxes, as do the businesses that they frequent when they're up here. Not to mention that there's those that leave on those busy weekends. We are one that leaves every national weekend. So what I'm looking for is something to be done. I really would like to see a noise barrier go in place an ordinance that limits hours and has decibel levels that can be enforced, and having a sheriff's department that will look at this and do enforcement when appropriate. If BIR's security can't handle this, then they need to be treated just like any resident. This is much overdue, and since the 12 years I've lived in this house, I've lost the peace that has brought me to the Lakes Country. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to say something, Sheriff?
Yeah, I do have a meeting set up with,
Eric, can you come to the mic so that folks at home can hear you as well?
I do have a meeting set up with the owner of the track, Christy, and she has assured me that at the end of the month in March, and she has assured me that we're going to look at different ways that we can mitigate the noise that's going on. It's not their track that's making those noises, but the people that are there visiting and that are just having a good time at all hours of the night. So we're going to work at identifying some specific issues that we can do to mitigate that sound. So that's coming up in March 20. I can't remember what I said, the 23rd or the 28th or something like that. So I'll bring a report back to you.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Next person on the open forum is John Forney. Please state your name and address for the records. And
John Forney, 11797 Whitefish Avenue, Cross Lake.
You have 3 minutes.
First of all, I guess I wonder, should I hold these till we have the discussion about the AIS plan?
If the AIS plan is on this agenda, then you shouldn't be speaking about that right now.
Okay, that's fine, then
It
I'll wait.
is 6.8.
Yeah, and it is on here, so. Okay. Review and approve the minutes of the January 24th County Board meeting.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
No, we need roll call.
Yeah, I know.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Review and approve the, motion carries. Review and approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, we have no changes.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lubke.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Coring.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. We're all ready to land services.
Good morning, Ms. Chair and members of the board. We just have a couple of items for you today. The first one being a request from the city of Baxter. Trees, if you could put up that little map of the survey that we sent. They're requesting a 20-foot easement on a tax forfeited parcel that we currently have on the for sale list. There currently is a 10-foot utility easement, but they have asked that isn't large enough for their equipment to get back into a stormwater area that they have behind this lot. So you would see that they're just asking for a 20-foot, and then that we would continue on to try to sell the lot in the future. So this highlighted 20 feet here is what they're asking for additional easement. Any questions from the board on this one?
Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, the other thing I would point out is that this was part of that larger discussion that we had with Baxter ongoing about where they had public utilities on tax forfeited lands, and why are we holding on to the deeds for parcels of property that are completely used for a public purpose? Why are we holding the deed? Transfer it to them, they can hold it. This was part of that effort. I think this is the last one.
This is the last one.
Two. So what this will allow us to do is to put the larger parcel here, it's a city lot, it's not that big, but put this parcel out on the tax forfeited land sale. We wanted to sell it, and what we discovered through these discussions is this one doesn't need an easement for the whole parcel. It only needs an easement for part of the parcel, and then we can sell it. It has an easement, so I'm sure it'll affect the value that it can fetch, but it's a public purpose that they're trying to access, and so we have done this before.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the 20-foot private easement to the city of Baxter for parcel number 403-10547.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. The next item we have for your consideration is a request to reclassify a tax forfeited property as non-conservation and then transfer it as into county fee property. With Teresa, the little map up there, it's a little easier for me to show what we're trying to do here is we're currently in a permitting process for the landfill for the next 5 years with the MPCA to keep, operations going. And one thing that will assist in that is to add this 20 acres here, and there's this little triangle piece here that we would put a testing well here, and this would be for a future stormwater pond. If you go to the next map, Therese, thank you. And then this would be the 580-acre landfill site. All of that land would be dedicated as basic Crow Wing County, but that'd be our official landfill site. And you'll see here that this is the future build-out of the landfill itself. Currently, we are in cell 5 here. Once we hit cell 10, we would need some additional stormwater, or some leachate ponding, and that would go right here on this 20 acres that we would propose to add to the landfill site. With a 2.1% increase in, you can say, garbage or refuse, cell 10 will be reached at about 2049 is our estimate. And then we figure we got enough land there for quite a while.
All right.
Any questions on that? I know that was pretty quick.
Madam Chair, so I don't have to read that entire description of the recommended board action, I would make the motion to approve the recommended board action.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries.
Next item for you is a discussion and consideration to create a new county park. Currently, the proposed name would be Little Emily Park. Just to kind of go through some of the maps again to kind of walk you through the thoughts on this is you can see where the park would be located on Little Emily Lake up in Emily, in the city of Emily. We currently have the Fire Tower Park that sits right over here. We have Milford, that's kind of in the east central. And then we have the community South Long Lake Park that's right on South Long Lake right here. We do have Rush Lake Island. It's more of a primitive island park. We'll put a new sign out there and take some photos, see if you guys want to do anything else with that. And then we have a JPA with ideal when they take care of, the big island out on Whitefish. But as we scroll through the maps, the idea would be that, in one of the premier counties in the state that has water, we don't have a lot of public swimming opportunity for folks that either don't live on a lake or don't maybe have a boat or something like that. There's Whipple Beach with the city of Baxter. The DNR currently has a Pelican swimming beach. Breezy Point has a small little swimming beach. So it's not that they're non-existent, there's just very limited opportunity for that kind of activity. And we thought this maybe with the kind of lakeshore that's there, pretty nice sand, it wouldn't take a lot to create another nice swimming beach. Now again, this is just all an idea. So you would see that we would build, we'd put in a vaulted toilet, we would have a picnic shelter. The DNR already seems very favorable to partner with us to put in a boat launch, fishing piers, walking trails, all that kind of stuff that would be similar to some of our other parks would be built here at this site if that is what is chose to do. Yep, you'll see roughly there's a lot of area in here that we could create different types of trails if we wanted to in the future. And then just ideas of what could be put on the park. You can see the fishing pier there, potential playground equipment, the shelter. We don't have one of the vaulted toilet and those types of stuff, but you know what goes on in those facilities. Any questions? That also is very quick, but the idea is to see if there's support to move forward. A lot of the funding for this park would be, we believe this is in the IRRR area that we can request some funding from that entity. We also think there's a lot of dollars out there currently since COVID for outdoor recreation. We think we could capitalize on to assist in the funding of this project. So that's what I have. Any questions or concerns?
Madam Chair, if I might, Gary, I have a couple questions. You note in the packet here that there's four grants that you would be applying for. And so then the final cost to the county would be about $65,000, which is not a lot of money in terms of building a park, but what are the assurances that we'd actually receive those four grants?
There is none, to be frank. We think that, I don't believe we would get all of them. I do believe we would be a strong applicant in getting a lot of the grants. And I think as the money comes in, we would have this list of projects that, we'd have, which ones would you want to do first? If the money didn't, it would be a different conversation. If we have a great land sale or timber sales, would you want to use some of that potentially or not? But there is no guarantees on a grant application that we would get it.
Okay, second question then is, have you had a meeting with the city of Emily? What is their position, or is this not in their, is this in their jurisdiction?
It is within the city of Emily's boundary. Currently, if this was favorable, Commissioner Hogue and myself are on their agenda tonight to celebrate Valentine's Day up there. No.
Is that a big celebration up there? Curious. So we don't know what their.
I don't know if Commissioner Hogue, if you've spoken with anybody
I
up there.
spoke to the mayor a couple months back, and he had no issues, and just shared with him that we'd be bringing more detail up. The city of Emily tried to do this a couple years ago.
Correct.
Where we had sold them this parcel. For whatever reason, they were unable to, I believe, secure funding to make this happen. So then we got this parcel back, and thought maybe we'll take a run at it with our grants and other sources of dollars to fund it. So that's where we're at. We thought it would be a good idea to get up in front of the full council and just share with them what we're thinking and see if they had any other ideas as well. So.
All right, and then my last question is, assuming that this got built out, do we have the capacity to take care of another park,
Yes.
our staff?
Our current capacity, we would fold this into our maintenance routine or schedule and shouldn't affect what we're doing.
More to come.
Madam Chair.
More to come.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Paul?
I just want to say that I will be supporting this. You know, I've said repeatedly in the past, I don't necessarily, I haven't been a supporter of the county being in the park business, but since I live down by South Long Lake, I've realized the utilization of the lower South Long Lake Park. And there's a lot of people that can't afford to live on a lake, or they can't afford to, they can't have access to a lake. And so I guess I've kind of changed my mind. I'm hoping we're not going to get overloaded with parks, but I am going to support this. And the main reason is we're not using property tax dollars for this. We're not going to be raising property tax dollars to maintain this. We're going to be using the timber management program and the money that we receive from that, and also any land sales that we have. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Gary, is this at all looked at as being anything in regards to camping, or is it just going to be a day park?
Currently, what here before you is a day park. There has been conversation on potentially maybe some primitive camping, but currently in the plan, we don't have any of that in here currently.
Okay. Do any of our other parks in the county have any camping at this time?
For the county parks, that is no. We do have kind of a, there's a Section 6 mine pit area that's an ATV trail that seems to receive some campers throughout the summer, that there's been some talk of maybe making that more officially some sites, because there becomes some issues with, you know, how much land can somebody have and how they put their trailer and stuff. It gets a little, you know, kind of, we try to just play peacemaker with that, but currently the answer is no. But
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, and I'll support this too, as long as the money for this comes from the timber sales, the land sales, and grants. But if it ever gets to the point where this is going on the taxpayers' rolls, then we'll have to have another discussion.
Understood.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to support the resolution.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any more discussion?
Madam Chair, I would just want to make the note that I want a lot more information before we get to a final position on these. I'll support it today, but I think there's a lot more financial information that we're going to need on this. Is there going to be any collaboration with the city of Emily? You know, and I think of the capacity to maintain when trees fall and that. So I'm concerned about that, but I want a more detailed information or financial impact that we're going to have. Even though it doesn't involve levy dollars, I still want to see that clearer picture.
Understood.
Any other discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries.
So with that motion, then, the next a couple of items are then to authorize us to apply and, if awarded, to receive the money with the grants. So we'll just one at a time, if that's all right with you folks. The first one would be to apply for a 2023 outdoor recreational grant. And this one, if you have any specifics on any of these, I would have Tom Strack, one of our foresters that leads up a lot of our recreation activities, come and answer any of your questions you have on any of these couple of grants coming in front of you next.
Madam Chair, to be clear, Gary, it's item 4, 5, and 6. correct?
That is correct.
Number 7 is different.
Number 7 is different, yes.
So the first 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all related to the action you just took for Emily Park. And it is the grant applications that were discussed in that board action. And so based on the feedback that we've heard from all of you, it seems pretty straightforward that you will want us to apply for these grants.
They're the grants that are on page 93 of our packet.
Yeah, and we just need the motions so we can have that with the application. That's
The
what we
first one is the Outdoor Recreation Grant Program. Madam Chair, for your consideration, a motion would be in order.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the next one is
IRRR.
the RRRB grant. I don't think they have the B in it anymore, but IRRR
Yeah.
grant. That's the Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation, the B used to be board.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, the
For
last
grant?
one is the Federal Recreational Trail Program Equipment Grant application.
We have a motion.
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. 6.7, this item is another grant application. It is, we are the sponsors for a lot of the snowmobile clubs, and the Gull Lake Drifters applied for this grant last season as well, and they did not receive it. They would like to reapply for the grant, and if approved, it basically covers some of their cost with a new groomer for their trail system.
Is there any discussion? Any questions for Gary?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Paul.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor, please take roll call.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye. Motion carries. Now we are into the AIS Prevention Plan.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Good morning, Ms. Chair, Commissioners. Today we have before you our proposed 2023 AIS Prevention Plan. Each year, the state of Minnesota provides Crow Wing County with approximately $450,000 in annual local aid. In 2023, that amount is $462,052, small decrease from 2022. We did commence a 30-day public comment period from January 5th through February 6th. During this time, we did receive 4 comments, and they are included in your packet. We did present an online presentation of the plan on January 25th, where we invited all lake associations, LIDs, and the public. Questions and comments were also taken at that meeting. If you want to look at the pie chart on page 114 of the packet, this just kind of breaks out how we are spending the funds this year. As you know, just scroll down to the bottom. There we go. So this is our 2023 proposed budget. As you know, we did have a large rollover this year, but generally we're breaking it out the same percentages to each area. We are spending about 75% of the funds on our inspection program, which is paying our inspectors their supplies. Everything is going directly to the inspections at the landing. About 10% of our overall budget is for our staffing salaries, which is comparable to our surrounding counties who are at 12 and 13% of their allocated funds go to their county dedicated staff. One of our big changes this year, or increases to our budget, is increasing our inspector wages $2 an hour. A first-year inspector would make $17 an hour, where they were at $15 last year. And then going up to our third year or more would be $18 an hour, and then our proposed lead inspector would be at $19 an hour. And we are hoping that this increase will help our staffing issues that we have had in the past couple of years. And then one of the big concerns, as we've all heard recently from the Lake Association, is if we are not meeting our hours that the county has allocated to these landings, what are we doing with these funds? In the past years, we've had small rollovers, not as large as we have this year, and we have bought equipment such as like our mobile decon that we currently have. And this year, that is a proposal, again, with these rollover funds, is to purchase another mobile decon that we can have at more landings, because it's kind of a double whammy, if you want to call it that, because we can have our inspector there doing inspections while also performing decons. And then, kind of covering the big changes, some more of those rollover funds we're planning or proposing to spend on increasing grants that we give out to our lake associations for our Starry Search program and Eurasian water milfoil treatment. We are proposing to put up signs at our Crow Wing County landings. We have a few at our landings right now. We might have 3 or 4 different signs. We're proposing to make that into one sign at each landing so they all have the same information. It might be a little different depending on what the lake is currently infested with. And then starting up a starry stonewort treatment reserve, just being ready to react if our county is infested with starry stonewort. And then that's all I have for you. I believe WAPOA is here to speak on their comments as well. Is there any questions?
Madam Chair, I just would point out, you also have those comments in your packet, and so those are available online. We have 2 comments from Tony Coffey, one of them on behalf of the Lakes and Rivers Alliance, one of them on behalf of WAPOA. We also have John Forney, who I believe is here today, and Patty Norgard, who I believe is here today as well. But those comments are available to the public for inspection in your packet and for your consideration as well.
No, John, you wanted to speak?
For the record again, I'm John Forney from Cross Lake. For the past 22 years, I've been involved in water quality issues. I've served as president of WAPOA. I am the current president of the National Loon Center. I am on board of the Cross Lakers and run their water quality group. And I'm on the Pine River Watershed Board. I've looked over the proposed plan. I guess I'd like to see Plan B. Based on the numbers that are there, we're eroding, gradually losing inspections. Gradually probably isn't enough. We've lost considerable, and if you project it out based on the formula that you used, you'll probably be down to 43% of the high that we had in 2020 in terms of inspections. So we just aren't out there making sure that we're doing a good job of catching these situations. So that's my basic concern. And as I understand it, the problem is hiring. And I guess in hearing the numbers quickly, giving a 10% bump to the amount we pay is eaten up by an 8.7% increase in the cost of living. So how do you expect to get more out of that? You're going to have a hard time just hiring the people. So I would propose that we get together, we think about planning this out with a little more vision, a little more information, with the lake associations who have raised their hand and said we'd like to participate, being included in that. The best we've gotten is to be able to react to these things and then be handed a bill at the end of the summer for considerable amounts of money. And frankly, we're tapped out. we're not going to be able to present anything else in terms of funding. And at some point, it's going to impact the value of the properties that generate so much of the tax base of the county. Thank you.
Commissioner, I just want to point out that Crow Wing County does this is probably the most vetted plan out of just about any ordinance that you guys have me oversee. We do a year-end review. We invite all lake associations, anybody from this community. We held a kickoff, we call it, but that's to invite anybody in to discuss what we were going to be proposing to you today. And had the floor wide open for any concerns, comments, or ideas that should be considered before we bring it to you. We also have a 30-day public comment period that you guys have received those comments, and of course continue to make comments take comments right up until you, adopt or change this here today. So I just wanted to say I believe we're a good partner with Lake Associations, LIDS, and of course, even though when this gets approved or changed or what have you, we're always open to listening and working with our partners out there in the community.
Thank you, Gary. Any discussion from the commissioners?
Madam Chair, I would like to just comment, I don't know how this is going to come out, but, we've done really a good job, I think, in the county of having those funds and trying to get them out there. And I really want to give a lot of credit to the Lake Associations because they've also stepped up. This has been kind of a partnership between all of us. And I feel really bad, and I don't know how to fix blame. I don't think we need to fix blame, but that it didn't happen last year. We left a lot of dollars on the table. We didn't get out and get those inspections done. And that is important to this county because water is the economic engine for this county. I've even been looking at some stuff that I asked for Gary for the Lake Associations that have requested us to even do more hours that they are paying for themselves out of their own pocket. Even after they pay the taxes for this county, they're also paying that. And we weren't able to deliver on that. And I don't think it's because we didn't want to deliver. It just wasn't there to deliver. And I feel bad about that for us because I think that is a very important thing. I hope what we're putting in place is going to help. I don't know if it's a fix, and I'm looking for ideas just like the Lake Association, just like we are, so of how that might work because maintenance of that water out there and inspection and educating people is what's going to keep this water clean for years to come. So that's all. I had more of a comment. I don't know if I had really a question or looking for an answer, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else?
And if I could just, I know it's commissioner time, I just want to say one of the ideas is if you adopt a plan today, and let's say we get into April and we're already struggling for employees, maybe this needs to be a little more flexible that we could come back and see if we need to adjust the wage either more or come up with some other creativity to try to draw more people if that's what we continue to face. Because what that would just project in, if we don't get the staff, we're going to have the exact same result where we won't get those inspections because, and maybe what we need to do is, if this works, great. If it doesn't, we need to be back in front of you with some different ideas maybe sooner than just waiting for the whole year to evolve, if that makes some sense.
I would agree. It just appears that most employers are having trouble finding employees, so I think we're hearing the same thing and finding the same thing with these positions, so. Is there a motion to approve the AIS plan as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye, motion passes. Next is land ordinance revisions for boardwalks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you guys haven't heard, we have Chris Pence back with us. So if you haven't heard, here's Chris to take you through the land use ordinance revisions.
It is nice to see a familiar face sitting in the chair. For those of us who have been around the county for quite some time, it is very nice to welcome Mr. Pence back. It's good to have you.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Tim. It's a pleasure to be back. This is my third week so far, and it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it, and it's been fun. Gary's done a great job of putting together a good team over in Land Services, and you can there's an air of just positivity over there. You can feel there's just a real, strong sense of teamwork, and that the one thing that we always don't have any other expectations, otherwise excellent customer service, and I'm seeing it happening. So I'm just proud that I was asked, the opportunity to come back. You don't oftentimes get a second chance to come back, and so I'm grateful for that. But what you have before you today is to look at some proposed ordinance revisions that have been put out for public comment. If you look at your request for board action, we can go back to spring of '22 with the moratorium in place for alternative access lots and boardwalks. I just want to point out too, Madam Chair, that we do have Ben Olson on the teams. Right now, he was the consultant with Hometown Planning that wrote the study that you also have as part of your packet, and he's available to answer any questions if need be. So there was a committee of the whole meeting back in December, and that sounded like the plan was that there are going to be some proposed revisions to the ordinance, and then that went out for public comment from January 5th to February 5th, and we received a total of 8 written comments on that. And so what we're here today is just to get some feedback from you and give us some direction as to where you want to go, because the next step in this would be to go to the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment at our March meeting, be March 16th for a public hearing, and then come back to the board for final review at your March 28th meeting. So I don't know if what you'd like me to go through, if there's anything, questions you might have or specifics about the ordinance itself. I'd be happy to answer those, or we could walk through the comments that came in. For the most part, what I heard and what I read was that wanting to make sure that the ordinance itself is any sort of a development, like a plat, would require an automatic environmental assessment worksheet. That was something that I read and came through pretty clear with that. And then there was also some comments about wanting there to be more public hearings for activities like boardwalks and those sorts of things. I think at the end of the day, everybody has the same concern. How do we develop these, the lands within Crow Wing County sustainably so that it's done so we don't cause any harm to lake shore, to the water, and still allowing people the reasonable use of their property. And I think what you have before you today as far as the ordinance revisions, I think it's accomplished that.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a question, Madam Chair, not related to the changes, but in the list of lakes in Appendix A, White Sand Lake is not listed.
Is White Sand within the jurisdiction of Baxter completely?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's why, so we only would list the lakes in that are under the jurisdiction of the county. for
Okay,
our
so
plan
red
zone.
sand goes on both sides, so, okay.
Correct. Exactly.
Thank you for the
Great question.
clarification.
Good question.
Anybody else?
Madam Chair, it's great reading for 244 pages of,
Yeah.
Just a little bit of stuff there. I flagged all the changes that are proposed, so there's a couple of changes in there, but I think it will address the main issues of, concern about the alternative access lots and the boardwalk.
So the ask today is really whether or not this is ripe to send to the Planning Commission
Correct.
and Board of Adjustment for them to hold a public hearing and take additional comments. I think that's the ask today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Based on that review, they would make a recommendation to the county board and bring that back right now, scheduled for March 28th.
So, Madam Chair, does that require a motion to do that, or just
It's a referral. I
consensus?
mean, you know, we can
It
certainly do
doesn't
that by
say so.
consensus if you wish, but a motion makes it clear.
Then I'll make the motion to approve this and move it on to the planning and zoning.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad you're back.
Thank you.
Okay. Once labor agreement. We ready?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Today I have in your packet is a settlement agreement for our labor contract called ONCE. That is our organized non-contract employees. This unit has 4 exempt supervisors in our highway department. This is a group that has been aligned to our compensation plan since 2017, so 100% compliance with that, or 100% application. And this unit also adopts our county insurance plan as well.
Do you have a slide for this?
What's that?
A slide?
I gave it to Therese.
Oh, okay. We're going to try to pull it up.
I'll hold.
There you go.
You can go to the next slide. What's that?
Please continue.
Okay. On the right-hand side of the screen is the key recognition items for this contract. We continue to clean up all of our contracts by removing language that no longer pertains to a contract. This particular contract had some part-time language in there referring to part-time employees. We don't hire part-time salaried leaders here at the county, so we're going to clean up that language. In addition to that, we would like to add $2,080 towards the base pay, which is a one-time payment after a performance-based pay adjustment for 2023 only, with a total amount of $8,320. The third recognition item is we are always evaluating our compensation plan, and we would like to make a change to the geographical comparison from 85% to 90%. This shifts our salary schedules for 2024 and 2025 for this unit. There is also no inclusion into this unit, so we maintain that language with this ONCE contract, and they've agreed to a 3-year contract. Those were the key recognition items. So my ask today is, number 1, for Madam Chair Franzine, Commissioner, or County Administrator Houle, and myself to move forward with that contract and sign that contract. And our second ask today is for you to approve extending all the relevant recognition provisions and changes to our comp plan to our non-contract employees.
Does everyone understand everything? Do you have any questions or comments? If not, can I have a motion to move forward?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any discussion of any kind?
Madam Chair, I'll just make one remark, and that moving from the 85 to the 90 is addressing the issue of attracting employees to our workforce. And when we compare ourselves to the Twin Cities, it's more in alignment with what the difference is, and that's decreasing as the years go by. So to compete, we can only discount 10% rather than the 15% that we were doing previously. So that's the rationale behind moving from 85 to 90%.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzen.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Sheriff, you're next. You have anything you'd like to share? I do not. Thank you. Okay. County Attorney.
Guess I better turn that on first. It's kind of like the mute button on my computer, you know, I forget most of the time. I don't have anything for you today, Madam Chair, but I'm certainly willing to answer any questions anybody may have.
All right. Any questions? Doesn't look like it. County Administrator.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we had a senior management team meeting yesterday. We debriefed on the performance management system performance. So, you know, we have a pay-for-performance system, and if you do not look at that system and how it is producing results for you, and look at it through various lenses to make sure that you have, you know, equity built into the system, it will atrophy. And so every year, we look at how did we perform at our performance management work. And so ultimately, you end up holding me accountable for the organizational results, and then I unbundle that for the senior leaders. Here's how you contributed to the organizational results. And I think it is, these are always robust discussions, because it's like, you know, how did we end up, you know, giving maybe more outperformings in one area than we did in another? What were the rationales? So those are always robust discussions. So I think it is a healthy thing that we always do that sort of analysis of how well we did managing our performance management system. We also had conversations about things that, oh, I forget now, what was the second item? Dang, it's going to slip my mind now. Insurance. Thank you. We also talked about insurance coverage and whether or not we have adequate insurance coverage for the contents of our buildings. And so we started a conversation about, well, how much insurance do we have? And I think what we discovered was we may be a little bit on the low side, and if you think about it, go back 20 years and what kind of equipment you might have had in your buildings 20 years ago versus what kind of equipment you have in your buildings today, and that probably answers the question about why we are where we're at. We should make sure that we are adequately insured, and so we will go down the path of making sure that that is the case. Happy to answer any questions about that or anything else related to county government. I do have one board action for you.
Keep going.
Madam Chair and members of the board, also enclosed in your packet is a request for board action to consider a letter of support for Senate File 609. Senate File 609 is a bill that would match contributions to local housing trust funds. Crow Wing County is one of the few counties in greater Minnesota that has a housing trust fund. We identified housing as one of the limits to our economic growth about 4 years ago. I think we still see the impacts of the housing issues in our community, and we saw them no more starkly than in the valuation increases that we have been experiencing. Supply and demand is a powerful, powerful force. This is then an opportunity, if this bill were to pass, to double our contribution. That's basically what it does, is whatever dollars we put in, the state would match. We're already doing it. And so having the state match it is kind of an easy thing for us to leverage what we're already choosing to do as a priority. And so I think it makes good sense for us to support the bill. Letters of support are always something that are going to be dicey for you guys. And what I would suggest is consider what the bumpers in the bowling alley are. You can have a letter of support for whatever you wish. I would suggest you focus on county government as your primary. This is related to county government because it's the county's HRA. And so I put it forward for your consideration to authorize the chair to sign and send the letter in your packet expressing support for Senate File 609. There may be other bills you wish to lean into as the legislative session goes on. I will take my lead from you.
Is there any discussion on this?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to authorize you as the chair to sign the letter of support for Senate File 609.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries.
Madam Chair, that's all I have today.
All right. Next item on the agenda is a closed meeting.
Madam,
So, Madam Chair, we have a closed meeting with an attorney, and then it is pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 regarding pending litigation. The court file number is 18-CV-20-981. Madam Chair, I would suggest we go into recess until 10:45 when the attorney is present.
All right.
10:45, is that what you said? That was anticipated. Okay. And if he gets here, I think you should do it to a time certain.
Okay, we'll go into recess until 10:45.
Okay.